Hello and welcome back to day 15 of 100 days of VBA. Yesterday we started looking at some conditional statements using if, and today we're going to build on that by moving to a select case statement, which is a more advanced way of doing the same thing. So let's get started. We've got our similar setup to what we had yesterday. So we've got our value, which is just equal to 1, and at the end of the function we're going to write it back to cell A1 in our spreadsheet. Now, to start our select case, we're just going to say select case, and then we're going to say value, which is our variable, and at the end, as always, we're going to say end select. Now, so before where we had if and else, we'd say if value was equal to 1, then do something else if value was equal to 2, do something else, etc., etc. With case, you can do the same thing, but in a bit of a neater format. So let's just say case 1, which means in the case that our value is equal to 1. And we don't have to write then this time. We can just write our function that we want to run. So let's say value equals value plus 1. And you can do that for all of your different possible values of your variable. So let's say case 2. And then we can say we want to add 2 to our variable. And now one of the great things about case is that you can really easily include or logic. So if our value is equal to 2 or 3, then we can just simply put a comma in there and run the same function whether it's 2 or 3. And you can do really clever things with numbers. So let's say case 4, 2, 8. So if our value is anywhere between 4 and 8, then we will add 3 to our value. And we could even say case is less than 15. And we will add 4 to it. Now, it's important to note as well that these things are checked in order. So first it will check if it's equal to 1, then it will check if it's equal to 2 or 3, then it will check if it's between 4 and 8, and then it will check if it's less than 15, because all of these obviously are less than 15 anyway, but it will only get to this if it's between 9 and 14, because it will check these ones first. And similarly to the if, we can have a catch-all at the end and just say case else, and let's say value equals nothing. So let's run it. Now, we'd expect, because our value is equal to 1, that it would just plus 1 and write the number 2 to cell A1. So let's see. There we go. Great. So now if we set it to 2, we'd expect this statement to be true, and it will add 2 and make it 4. Perfect. And if it's 3, this statement is still true, so we're going to add 2 to it, but this time, obviously, it'll be 5, because we're going from 3 plus 2 to 5. There we go. And if we work our way through, so 4 to 8, so we're going to add 3, so we'd expect it to be 7. 5, we'd expect it to be 8. 6, we'd expect it to be 9. 7, 10, and 8, 11. There we go. So now, if it's anything else that's less than 15, so let's start with 9, then it's going to add 4, going to be 13. 10, 14, etc., etc. But what if we put 15? Then it's going to be 0, and that's because we've got less than, not less than or equal to 15, and we've reached our case else statement, which just defaults it back to 0. So we could change that to less than or equal to 15, and then it's going to be 19, because this is now true again, and it's going to add 4 to our value. So there you go. That is a select case function, which is a neater way of doing lots of nested ifs, so you don't have to do if else, if else, if else. You can just use a select case function instead to check whether something is true or not. And this could be dates, numbers, text. For example, we could say value equals text, make that a string. And now we can do the same test. We can say case text. Let's just type that correctly. Then we'd say that is true. And there we go, it's written that is true. And now if we say text different, then it defaults it back to 0 because now none of these are true. So it will hit the case else and go back to 0. There you go, a select case function in VBA.